Pete Davidson meets father's killers.
Yes, mate. Split the G.
And MrBeast traps a man in a burning building.
All this and more on this week's episode of News Sensation.
Hello and welcome back to News Sensation. I am Matty Curry, joined by the ever-vescent, ever-beautiful, everything, Chris Patel. And this is a show where we take you through the weirdest and wildest stories of the week that was, typically with an intro in the opposite order. Now, Chris... It's been an interesting start to this week's episode. We've totally not recorded the first few minutes, gone back, put the protection on our microphones and done it all again. But, I mean, we've got a really fun story for
We do.
A whole batch of them.
Always wear protection, even though it's probably illegal in some of the countries of the world we'll be taking you to with today's news stories. So if you've not tuned in before, Matty, what can the listeners expect?
Well, they can expect a whole host of stories. We try and cover as many different things as possible. We've got culture, we've got sport, we've got politics, a tiny little bit coming into our things a little bit. Some weeks we get really, really deep into a rabbit hole, and this week is not one of those weeks. This week is predominantly for the binge watchers, for your funny mates, for your unfunny mates, and for the dads who watch the golf at the weekend and are very happy about it.
Yeah, normally we're a feast for the mum's eyes, but today it's the dads.
Yeah, we're trying to break up the marriage as many different ways as we can. Either by isolating your father in our algorithm of bloke chat, or by seducing your mothers. There is no other approach, and it's inevitable, really, at the end of the day.
And if you've got any great marriage breakup stories or any other news stories that you would like us to cover or you think we should see, you can email us at newsensationpod@gmail.com. That's
newsensationpod@gmail.com. Or you can follow us on our social medias, which is really Chris's area of expertise.
Even though I get the name of the accounts wrong every single episode.
You get it wrong every single episode, and I've forgiven you for it. I have a forgiving heart. Again, not something shared by everyone in this week's show. The correct way round is to say that if you want to follow us on Instagram, you can follow us at New Sensation, or if you want to follow us on TikTok, you can follow us at New Sensation Pod.
And for our top story today, we have a follow-up. We should do a spin-off called Sports Sensation.
We really should do a spin-off called Sports Sensation.
Neither of us would qualify to host that one.
No, I mean, look at us, athletic marvels, truly. But I do think that we should also have a separate show where we just talk about stories we cover and then don't touch for 6 months, then come back and go, oh, by the way, here's what's happening. So welcome to By the Way, in which we cover a story we covered 2 weeks ago, again, but this time with even more crazy little details. And as I hinted at earlier, we'll be talking about the Ryder Cup. Luke Donald, the captain of Team Europe in this Team Europe versus Team USA intercontinental competition, distributed VR headsets to his team prior to them heading to Bethpage Black, a notoriously rowdy course in New York, which allowed the players to go through their motions of preparing for the course whilst receiving vile abuse and loud noises through the headset to prepare them for what was ahead.
I mean, I get enough of that at home, so I wouldn't need the VR headset.
No, we do that for each other. Actually, I'm able to cut it out in the audio each pod because I'm a tech wonder. But each episode is filled with each of us going back and forth, just shouting abuse while the other one's trying to do what they're going to do. You're about to segue, and right as you're preparing for it, see you take that intake of breath, and it's just, Chris, suck!
I mean, we've managed to skip past the 1.5 hour political rants that Matty gives me every week.
Yes. that I would also give to the listeners if Chris didn't make me cut them out. But no, this was seen as sort of an ingenious tactic to tackle what is only, golf's only really rowdy competition. Typically, if you're rowdy at golf, you're sort of tossed out. But this is a course. This is an event really made for the Happy Gilmores of the sport. And there was certainly quite a lot of Adam Sandler-esque tomfoolery at Bethpage at the weekend, which is part of the reason why I enjoyed myself so much. Now, the story we covered a few weeks ago also covered in depth the Team Europe star and world number 2 ranked player Rory McIlroy. Who, even if you don't know anything about golf, if you exist on this planet, you've probably heard the name before. He won the Masters earlier this year. It's been a banner year for him. And he was saying that when he got the headset and he was asked, oh, well, how far do you want us to dial it up? He said, well, how high does it go? You know? It's not going to be too bad. He also shrugged off what were the expected scenes at the time by saying, well, there's a lot of Europeans in New York. Maybe it'll be okay. I don't think it'll be as bad as everyone's saying it's going to be. So, of course, the headlines now feel like a natural progression of all of that. Team Europe's attention to detail meant that they had dominance in the team play, providing a balance to what was effectively rather lackluster solo play on the final day, to leave Bethpage as the winners. And not just retaining, as the PGA's chairman said. We all saw it. While McIlroy experienced something really quite distressing and vile, as his time at the course was marred by vile abuse from the crowd. Now, McIlroy was right to predict that Team Europe would still have a vocal following despite playing on American soil. Their chants, including their Cranberries-themed one for Rory McIlroy himself.
As in the Cranberries?
As in the Cranberries.
Ah.
As in,
The band?
The band. Yeah, Rory McIlroy's chant is to the tune of Zombie,
Oh.
Implying that he is in the head of the
like
Americans.
Rory.
Yep, exactly that. There's also a Tommy Fleetwood chant that's borrowed from a former Everton chant about Marouane Fellaini, where Everton fans, to the tune of Can't Take My Eyes Off You, suggest that they would be thrilled if Marouane Fellaini were to pleasure their wives. The same has been extended now to Tommy Fleetwood. Anyway, the chants of the European fans made headlines in their own right for putting to shame the incessant drone of USA, USA.
Donald dunked on the Donald, you might say.
He really did. There's a new Donald in town. The trophy presentation and even the players' locker room was filled with chants of, are you watching Donald Trump? Which actually Rory McIlroy texted to Donald Trump. I'm pretty sure, because the POTUS reached out to him.
I imagine he wasn't watching, because he was probably further down the course kicking his ball along.
Yeah.
As he has been known to do.
He did try and lead a USA chant while he was at Bethpage on around the start of the afternoon sessions on the first day.
Trump did?
Didn't really go well. Yeah.
Oh,
well,
whoa.
You might remember from that story where the PGA were really worried about Trump turning up and causing a scene. And he didn't really cause too much of a problem because he followed their advice of turning up at lunchtime. But he was there to watch his boys get battered. Now, McIlroy's optimism and Donald's VR headsets couldn't have prepared them for Ryder Cup MCs stoking the flames and beer being thrown at McIlroy's wife, Erica. That's right, two separate events that captured headlines in their own rights. See, stand-up comedian and podcaster, which, I mean, just get a job, Heather McMahon was emceeing the first tee at Bethpage and was filmed starting a "Fuck You Rory" chant.
What does emceeing the first tee involve?
It means that, because they get there very, very early, the first tee off was at about 7 a.m. EST each day. So what they were there to do was to sort of be like, hey guys, get loud, welcome to the T. Bryson DeChambeau, that kind of thing.
There's a lot to love about Americans. There's a lot to loathe.
There's a lot to loathe, and McMahon is one to loathe. She had to step down from her role, but it didn't stop the heckling, because even though she wasn't there to start off the offensive chants being aimed at Rory McIlroy, other people really made up for her absence. Both McIlroy and his best friend and teammate Shane Lowry spoke out against the abuse Erica, McIlroy's wife, received. But Rory got his own viral moment when he fired a beautiful iron shot right after telling the crowd to shut the fuck up. Which, on reflection, when asked about it by a journalist, said it was very fucking satisfying. There's more F-bombs in this in the House of Guinness, honestly. Wow. It's a... We'll get to that later. Now, Lowry was also giving the crowd back as much as he got, culminating in his putt on 18 on that final day.
You're ready to be a dad.
I'm ready to be a dad.
I'm clearly not there yet because my frontal lobe is not kind of.
It's not developing in the way I am. Your front. Basically,
Mattie's already gone through second puberty. He's heading towards the menopause.
My menopause will be spent rewatching Shane Lowry potting was a perfect putt, and then celebrating like a wild man in front of a raucous Bethpage crowd. The wild celebrations really did encapsulate what it meant to go into a hostile environment and come out on top. It was a beautiful moment. Now, when security was boosted with state troopers and dogs along the fairway after there was complaints in the opening days about the abuse, McIlroy made light of its limited role in actually stopping the abuse by saying, "I wish they had let the dogs off the leashes." And to be honest, I don't blame him. I mean, one of the big things they pointed out is that although the Ryder Cup is the one where it's a bit more tribal, a bit more fun, a bit more kind of, silly, if you are about to take a shot and someone's yelling abuse at you, it's just not golf.
It's crazy golf.
It's crazy golf, let me tell you.
Crazy golf to me, in my twisted mind. Just normal golf.
Now, in terms of letting the dogs off the leash, fans of Team USA might feel the same way about Captain Keegan Bradley's men, because they never really got going. Their big dog, world number 1, Scotty Scheffler, had a very mediocre weekend, not securing a point until that final day against McIlroy. And their talisman, Bryson DeChambeau, was held to just 1.5 points of a possible 5, meaning he won one game, drew one, and then lost the rest, and he played every single round. So he played very well, but it just wasn't enough. And that was the sort of story of the weekend for Team USA. Bradley took a page out of his Commander-in-Chief's playbook, though, downplaying the abuse as passion and strawmanning with fictitious violence at the Rome Ryder Cup, saying, I think I wasn't there, but I heard it got pretty violent there. What are you talking about? You're making things up. Deny, defend, bottle the Ryder Cup. Now, American golf legend Tom Watson was a bit more honest, saying, I'd like to apologise for the rude and mean-spirited behaviour from our American crowd at Bethpage. As a former player, captain, and as an American, I'm ashamed of what happened. And it's nice that someone in America still has a sense of shame. But look, the Ryder Cup is always golf's most rowdy event. Like I said, it's fit more for the game's happy Gilmores, of which Bryson DeChambeau and Shane Lowry certainly are among them. But Bethpage crossed the line. Yet, still, just as the American players seemed to go above and beyond on Sunday's single play, it just wasn't enough. They were outmaneuvered, outplanned, and just out-schemed generally by a Team Europe that seemed ready for absolutely everything. And all that without that sweet American stipend. Which I'll explain to Chris after the show.
Please don't. Speaking of walking into hostile environments and maybe not coming out the other side.
Speaking of the Americans selling out and not doing enough with the money.
The big question on everyone's lips, who's Pete Davidson in bed with this week? It's the Saudi government. So along with 50 other comics, I'm talking about the Riyadh Comedy Festival.
Yes.
So the comedians who've signed up to the comedy festival, which is running until next Thursday in the Saudi Arabian capital, includes some of the biggest stars on both sides of the Atlantic. So we've got Kevin Hart, Dave Chappelle, Bill Burr, Jack Whitehall, Jimmy Carr, and many, many others. Louis C.K. is among them, Aziz Ansari.
Santino and Leo among them as well, right? Bad friends?
I know Santino is. I didn't know about Lee. But,
okay.
I mean, where Santino goes, he follows, isn't he? They've received pretty widespread condemnation for what many journalists, comedians, and fans are seeing as propping up a murderous Saudi regime.
Their words. And ours. Now,
one comedian who's not involved with the festival, David Cross, who you might know as the fish in the bowl from Megamind.
And Ian in Alvin and Chipmunks, come on.
Well, yes. He put out a statement saying, I remember the backlash I got for appearing in Alvin and the Chipmunks, and you would have thought I'd have taken money from a bunch of people responsible for funding Al-Qaeda.
Well, there we go.
And we should note that the allegation that the Saudi government's funded Al-Qaeda probably refers to the 28 pages, which is a declassified document from 2002, so a year after 9/11, which found that some of the 9/11 hijackers were in contact with and received support from individuals likely connected to the Saudi government.
Yeah. And maybe a member of Al-Qaeda might have said under oath that there was direct funding from the Saudi royal family. But
it's entirely possible.
It's entirely possible.
What's also entirely possible is that Louis C.K. has compromised his principles.
What? Never.
Who would have thought? But they are defending it. Comedians, they're known for, a bit of back and forth, bit of defending it. So let's see how they're doing it. Jim Jeffries, who's since been inexplicably removed from the lineup, said, "One reporter was killed by the government. Unfortunate, but not a fucking hill that I'm going to die on."
Why not? Why not? That's a very appropriate hill to die on.
Of all the hills, mate.
Yeah, of all the hills. I'd pick that one.
Mark Normand said he wanted to take his wife there to show her how good she has it in America.
It's rash. It's rash.
Tim Dillon said, "So what, they have slaves?" And then he was removed from the lineup for pointing out that they have slaves. So really, he's the wokest of them all.
That's such a Tim Dillon way to go out. That's really on brand.
If you're learning that for the first time, what? Saudi Arabia have slaves? They have 750,000 enslaved people. 21 out of every 1,000 people in Saudi Arabia are enslaved.
Sorry, what?
Think of your 1,000 closest friends. 21 of them are enslaved in Saudi Arabia.
Of the 1,000 people who are going to watch this episode and like it and subscribe, 21 of you.
Oh yes, set the bar high.
Set the bar high.
For us. Whitney Cummings, who's another comedian on the lineup, posted after Charlie Kirk's recent assassination, "If you are happy with someone was publicly executed because they don't share your beliefs, congrats, you're the Taliban."
Right.
But I don't want viewers at home, Matty, to conflate the Saudi government and the Taliban because they're nothing like each other at all.
No,
take it from the Saudis, who explain their semi-open relationship with the Afghan state by saying that they, the Saudis, just have a more moderate form of Islam. So we got the Taliban, who on the one hand have plunged their entire country into darkness by getting rid of the internet.
Yes.
Especially the women in their country.
Especially the women in the country.
And then you have the Saudi regime that kills journalists. But which is better?
Which is better?
There's only one way to find out.
Oh, no, don't fight. Please, please probably don't. That'd be disastrous.
No. My stocks. No.
Oh, God, what does this mean for the economy?
I could go on and on about quotes, Matty, which catch these comedians with their pants down.
We really could. I
Probably
mean,
about quotes which catch us with our pants down as well.
Can I throw one out there by John Marco Ceresi, who I really, really appreciate as a comic, and I think he's absolutely fantastic and fabulous. He did say, "What's the point in going to Saudi Arabia to not if you're going to go to Saudi Arabia and not tell a joke that ends up with you in prison? What's the point in having Trump on your podcast in the first place?"
Exactly. What? Just do it for the plot.
You got to if you're going to be the free speech, legalized comedy. This is the hill I'm going to die on. Crowd.
Exactly.
Then die on the hill.
Yeah,
go on.
100%.
Die on the hill.
It's time for Bill Burr to put his money where his mouth is.
Yeah, this is really disappointing from Bill. He had a good summer, but the autumn has come thick and fast.
To be fair, if these people do jokes at the Saudi government's expense, I will take back all my consternation.
Well, yeah.
Because it is the ultimate opportunity. Let's see if they deliver.
Yeah,
I don't think they will.
I don't think they will.
But the plot for Saudi Arabia is more about a plan called Vision 2030. A plan to diversify the country's economy away from oil and towards entertainment, tech and tourism. So Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, the de facto ruler of Saudi Arabia, has, as part of the agenda, taken such liberalising measures as allowing women to drive.
This is really interesting.
It's a bridge too far for me.
So funnily enough, because we brought up Jamal Khashoggi before.
Yes.
With the Jim Jeffries comment. Mohammed bin Salman was really, really popular when he came in with the West because of his liberalising regime. It seemed like he was taking massive steps forward. And so actually everything that happened with Khashoggi set back that momentum, I think, permanently. There's now a really dark cloud over his regime that started really there. Because although we talked about actually the slavery and stuff and all the stuff that's later been discovered and understood about Saudi Arabia, he was doing, this whole project was going very, very well. And then he decided to murder a man and chop him up.
I mean, arguably, it's going well even in spite of that.
Yes, it's managed to bounce back a little bit.
And we can't ignore the fact that even though Vision 2030 says it's creating a vibrant society where all citizens can thrive and pursue their passions, same-sex sexual activity is punishable by death. Yes. So only some people are allowed to pursue their passions in Saudi Arabia. But Vision 2030 explains all the sports washing that we've seen. Because it's similar to the Qatari government's National Vision 2030 program.
Hang on.
They've copied their homework. Which explains why West Sussex has renamed a famous horse race the Qatar Goodwood Festival.
It's so poor. It explains why there's a WrestleMania going to be happening in Saudi Arabia. It explains why there's already been a bunch of wrestling events there. It explains the boxing Riyadh season that's now become part of their sort of calendar every year.
Spiritually, it does have similar energy to the boxing. Is it an MMA fight that's going to be at the White House?
It really does have that same similar vibe to it.
I'm sure Trump has probably been to Riyadh season.
Yeah, it also feels a bit like the Rebel Tour.
The Rebel Tour?
Yes, when cricketers under private interests, when there was a sort of blockade on going to apartheid South Africa, when I'm gonna do it anyway.
To quote Tommy Robbins.
Oh my God, nothing annoys me more. The two great places the two people who've co-opted Lavi Seif in popular culture is Kanye West stealing my song to make I Wonder.
It's a sample.
It's a sample.
I'm sure he got it cleared.
I'm not going to give Kanye West any grace these days. And Tommy Robinson taking the anti-apartheid anthem and
getting Charlie Heaney, an X Factor singer that nobody remembers, to do it.
Oh dear.
Oh no. I realised the segue I planned for the end of this story does not work because we were in the wrong order.
Okay.
But well, I'll do a spoiler. Later we're going to talk about MrBeast. And well, actually he was in the headlines, wasn't he? God, I'm all over the place. This is what happens when you do a night recording.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, we're doing this in the dead of night.
Yeah, we are.
8:30.
3 a.m. 24-hour overnight news sensation challenge at 3 a.m.
Don't record a podcast at 3 a.m.
Don't call Mr.
Real,
Beast.
not clickbait.
But if you want a visual picture that Saudi Arabia has, you know, FIFA, all these different organizations in, let's look at how MrBeast advertised the Canelo Alvarez v Terence Crawford fight earlier this month. Here's a quote. Mike Tyson is about to punch me because thanks to Riyadh season, Canelo v Crawford is about to happen, literally starts within the hour. After this, you need to go watch it. And to raise awareness, I'm going to take a punch from Mike Tyson whenever you're ready. And then Mike Tyson punches him and he falls to his knees.
Can the promo not just be Mike Tyson punching him and him gasping for air? I feel like that's like that.
Can't get the plug for Riyadh season.
That's the sell. Everything else, faff, nonsense. Don't need it.
No, gotta throw the Saudi.
I mean, you mentioned the Saudis having FIFA in their pocket, and really they also have the FIFA that's in your PlayStation because they've just bought EA Sports for a boatload of money, and EA Sports are also the main distributors of one of my most tortured relationships. That's right, Madden. For those who don't know, I'm a big NFL fan. I've talked about college football on this show before. So far, the NFL season is going pretty well for my boys. But there's already been a bombshell. It's week 5 of the season. There's already controversy about the Super Bowl halftime show. You can't escape it. It just keeps coming.
And I think, yeah, it's fair to say that this is the big event that reaches beyond American football fans.
Oh,
because often I'm very
absolutely.
mystified about, like I am, I'm mystified about Matty's taste in sports. Golf, American football. He likes basketball.
I do like basketball. I like baseball, but right now I don't want to talk about that because my feelings are hurt. I mean it. Don't bring it up.
Who did this?
Who did this? The New York Mets. It's always the Mets. Now, look, for you filthy casuals.
Sorry, just to interrupt. Did you see Scarlett Johansson wearing the Met?
I did see
the Mets
this.
game.
I did see this. She went to go see a Mets game with Colin, and on the hat it did say the Met, which is like such a New York. Like, that feels like a Yankees thing to do at a Mets game. It's so faux. It's so nouvelle riche.
If I know Scarlett Johansson and I do, this is exactly what she'd do. Anyway.
Oh, ScarJo.
Back to the Super Bowl halftime show.
What I'm trying to say is for all you people with lives who come up to me once a year pretending to care about the NFL because it's the Super Bowl and it's the halftime show, and you come up to me on a Monday morning, we have an awkward conversation because you say, oh, did you watch the Super Bowl? And I think you want to talk to me about the game, and you say, no, what did you make of Rihanna? This story's for you.
They not like us.
They say, da, 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 da. Yeah. No, I mean, look, the halftime show is mega. It's absolutely huge. And this week, it's been revealed who it's going to be this season.
That's the best I can do with a drum roll with my mouth.
Well, that's the best you can do with your mouth. The pride of Puerto Rico, Bad Bunny, is fresh off the back of a 31-date residency in San Juan, Puerto Rico, which generated $733 million for the island and brought 500,000 people during a slow part of the tourism season. Now he is the feature performer at the Super Bowl.
He's come a long way, as our Bunny.
He really has. I mean, in 2020, I'll get to this later, he was also actually at the Super Bowl. He made a guest appearance during Shakira and J-Lo's set, which I found to be a rather draining set in what was a very good Super Bowl. This is what I usually find, is that people want to talk to me about like halftime shows, and I'm like, actually, can we talk about like maybe the game?
I wish American football didn't exist, but I also wish the halftime shows didn't exist. I wish nothing happened and the stadiums were razed to the ground and an AI data center was built in the middle.
Elon Musk, this is the official XAI podcast. Well, we can't be the official Visit Turkey Eric Adams podcast anymore because he pulled out of the New York City mayoral
we can't.
race.
We could still be the Riyadh news sensation.
Riyadh
Riyadh News and Season.
Riyadh News and Season. We're going to remove all references to 9/11 from this podcast. All references to Jamal Khashoggi.
For our Latino listeners, let's get right back to Bad Bunny.
Let's get right back to Bad Bunny. Look, because I usually don't want to talk about the halftime show too much, but I really do want to talk about Bad Bunny because this is such a great story. His residency was the alternative to a conventional US tour. With the show dedicated to the sort of history and the culture of his home, it was fitting that the show's location in itself was a statement, because I think Rolling Stone put it really nice when they said that it re-centered from the mainland. Rather than saying that the mainland USA should be the home of a US tour, it then said, actually, this US territory is going to be the home of the US tour. And it really brought to light a crucial misunderstanding about Puerto Rico. Now, Polymarket Football, who, if you follow any sports pages on Instagram, every so often you'll get like bombarded with Polymarket releasing a bunch of unfunny memes.
I think some of them it's how we found the WNBA period betting story.
I mean, yeah, to be fair, sometimes they cook. But this bracket, which is part of the larger prediction market company, gamblers, the rotten, godless infidels.
Oh, my prediction marketing.
Mom, I'm not a gambling degenerate. I'm just predicting the market. They tweeted out that the NFL does not care, in all caps, about the USA fans when the announcement was made, prompting people to point out that Puerto Rico is part of the United States. It's just not a state. They do care about the US fans. They care about the US fans in Puerto Rico who have US citizenship. Now, like I said, is a territory, but it's one that's rarely shown the full respect it deserves by US authorities. This was highlighted, I think, most pertinently for those of us of a certain age, in 2017 after Hurricane Maria, and when there was like frequent blackouts and much of the island was racked by the hurricane, and they had to basically beg the first Trump presidential, what's the word I'm looking for? Presidency. I know, but it's not
tenure, regime,
administration.
Yes,
administration for funding and support at that time. And bearing all this in mind as well, Latin music is the fastest growing genre in the US, full stop. One with revenues of $1.4 billion. But its biggest star apparently has no place on the US's biggest stage. Because, I mean, as pointed out by conservative commentator Benny Johnson, friend of the show, not a friend of the show, he has no songs in English, Chris. So he can't possibly.
I can't dance if it's not in English.
If it's not in English, I don't want it. No. Now, Johnson also doesn't like that he is a, quote, massive Trump hater, anti-ICE activist. You know, Trump, who, like I said, was in office during Hurricane Maria.
I'm just realising that we are quoting Benny Johnson. You know, like, he's on the very bottom tier of Twitter. He's really like Joey Manorino.
Yeah, he really is. But I think it's really funny to bring these things up because it's like, let's drag these people from the gutter into the light so we can see just what kind of vermin we're dealing with. Now, Trump is also responsible for the brutal targeting of Latinos via ICE agents, prompting a series of legal challenges that has been prompted by them sending people to, say, I don't know, El Salvadorian concentration camps. But this all prompted Bad Bunny to avoid the mainland during his tour and to speak out in a video last year where he said, I will never forget what Donald Trump did and what he did not do when Puerto Rico needed a caring and competent leader.
Well, you want to avoid mainland because Dr. Phil's there.
Well,
and he's always, as we've covered on the podcast before, he's always after, you know.
He's always there with an icy reception.
He's always at Home Depot.
Now, the other thing that's worth bringing up is, because I'm talking about kind of like this whole thing. People are complaining that, it's too divisive. They're doing their whole thing. I saw someone refer to him as like, it's like a Marxist Satanist movement at a time of Christian revival. Which, you met a Latino in your life? No one more Christian on the planet.
Yeah.
They're dedicated to that. You're just adopting this nonsense. Anyway.
Unless you count having a figurine of Goku in your restaurant as paganism.
Wow, very true. But I mean, doesn't Trump have like the goat statue made of money of his own face?
Well, if Tony Blair gets his way, he might have that in Gaza.
So very true. Oh my goodness, that Gaza plan is that's something. But for now, the Super Bowl, wherein certain MAGA supporters are saying that instead they should unite the population with Kid Rock. I'm not kidding.
A man who gets rattled by a cheap beer.
Yes, yeah. Kid Rock, like, I love how their idea of apolitical is their politics. A bit like when Trump said, because like Trump said that the Gaza thing is going to be an apolitical body, but chaired by Donald Trump.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not what it means. Anyway, this isn't his first foray into the Super Bowl. As I said, he appeared alongside J-Lo and Shakira in 2020, but he's gone from being a surprise guest, who again at the time he performed in Spanish then, to now being the spotlight entertainer. And this decision lines up with the NFL's continued push for international audiences. This season they've already played in Sao Paulo, and I think that was week 1 down in Brazil, and they played in Dublin just this last weekend at Croke Park. My Steelers beating the Minnesota Vikings.
They are two great
sweaty
locations.
game. Yeah.
Sao Paulo and Dublin.
Yeah, fantastic. Great crack.
Straight to the House of Guinness.
Straight to the house. Oh, we'll get to that. Now, the London Games also start this weekend. They're at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and Wembley over the next few weeks. And later they'll play in Berlin and, fittingly, Madrid. So why not have a Spanish-speaking star on the biggest stage? This appeal to the world was echoed by Jay-Z, the man who oversees the booking for the halftime show as part of Rock Nation, who said, "What Bad Bunny has done and continues to do for Puerto Rico is truly inspiring. We are honoured to have him on the world's biggest stage."
Cheer. That's how we finished it.
Cheer.
Cheer.
Cheer. And also, he knows what it means to be someone who's like sort of a controversial first timer, because I mean, there was the whole controversy with was it Noel Gallagher or Liam Gallagher getting pissed that he was headlining the Triangle stage?
I feel like it was Liam.
Yeah, and so he came out and did a startling rendition of Wonderwall, because it's like, oh, it should be a rock musician on the stage at Wembley.
Well,
Wembley, Glastonbury.
Fittingly, there are many things that I would like to say to you, but I don't speak Spanish.
That's a great back pull. Well done. Now, also, I want to do another shout out. So, talking about trolling the depths of Twitter. User at @ILovesMick has been all over my feed in the last week. Just some random geezer. Because he tweeted out in February after the last Super Bowl, "All these white people mad about Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl performance. I hope next year they get Bad Bunny performing the whole set in Spanish."
The prophecy.
The prophecy. Listen, Akaib. Listen, Akaib. Enjoy your well-earned 50 minutes of fame. You've set forth a prophecy into motion that I'm so excited to see play out. But yeah, this is just my way to shoehorn in American sports even more into this podcast. But Chris, in a much more different set of circumstances, we're going to the other side of the world. And I mean, we were talking about Trump's plan for Gaza, but what the hell is going on here?
Well, set your hinge location to the Middle East, because we're talking about convicted Israeli mafia hitman pop star. I mean, oh, count me in. This is my own story, and I'm like, whoa, tell me about it.
Yeah,
I will.
I mean, as I said when you told me you're going to do
this on my own. So, Matty, what do you think of?
Well, I got very excited because I'm a big fan of You Don't Mess with the Zohan, and there's nothing that feels more fitting than this story.
It is going to be even more apt than you know. But first of all, shout out to Jeff Maish from the Financial Times. His reporting is the backbone of this story. It's the story of an Israeli mafia hitman who dreamt of being a pop star. And was also convicted. We already covered that. In 2016, Avner Harari said he wanted a fresh start. He'd spent 40 of his 61 years in prison. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
But he spent so much time in prison, most recently for firing an anti-tank missile at a rival crime boss. And he got 6 years for conspiring to shoot another. But now he found music, specifically Mizrahi, which Jeff Maish, the journalist, describes as a Middle Eastern music that Israelis have adopted with the same fervour as falafel.
That's unbelievably good journalism.
It's good. After being released, Harari himself released 2 ballads, one called A New Page, but they bombed. That's not an Israeli joke. Partly because he released them on CD and didn't know how to release a digital album.
Right.
When you've been locked away, for 2/3 of your life.
Well, we tried to release this on CD to start with. It was a series of CDs about the news, but we realised that you'd have to burn a new CD every single week, and it was just difficult.
I don't want to tape over myself. These episodes are gold. They're gonna sell for loads, baby. But authorities were left wondering if Harari had turned a new page, because 17 days after that record came out, there were explosions in Tel Aviv that looked like they were aimed at people who weren't helping him very much with his music career. So let's go right back to where it all began. Harari was known as the Terminator to Israeli police. That's up there with, Victor Boots, the angel of the merchant of death,
Yes,
who they
yeah,
swapped
yeah,
to Brittany
yeah.
Griner for after the bringing weed into
Still
Russia.
the worst trade in WNBA history.
But he grew up, the Terminator, in an Israeli family that was known as Israel's Jackson family. So it wasn't just prison where he got into music.
Okay.
He sang Mizrahi music at underground nightclubs from a young age, even when it was banned on radio for its Arabic influences. And his first offence came during the Yom Kippur War in 1973. When,
By the way, to all those observing Yom Kippur right now,
Yeah.
there you go. Have a good time.
well, he spent it by commandeering an American car from Israeli army headquarters.
Don't do that. If you're gonna have a good time, have a very thoughtful and.
That honestly sounds like fun. Israeli landscape is quite good for commandeering a car and driving around.
What, the desert?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite good. I know a man who's a veteran, an army veteran, and he was in Iraq, and he spent his time taking pot shots at signs.
Oh, right. Yeah. No, my granddad used to blow things up in the desert,
Yeah.
but during his national service. Yeah.
For which paramilitary organisation?
What are you trying to say? No. It's just a national service, United Kingdom, RAF.
Well, this wasn't Harari's last offence, because he then became part of the Uno gang, which is one of those gangs that sound less intimidating than it is, a bit like Manchester's Gooch gang.
Yeah.
Although actually, on balance, that sounds very intimidating.
Yeah. What are you gonna do with my? Anyway.
Exactly. +4 versus Gooch gang. The Uno gang were West Bank-based armed robbers of jewellers. But in the 1980s, as organised crime boomed in Israel, Harari's crimes boomed along with it. He got 5 years in 1981 for driving in a robbery. But in 1986, he vowed to go straight after finding God in prison.
Which God?
Yahweh, I presume.
I
don't know. But he went back to those underground nightclubs to perform songs from his first album. But this didn't go anywhere, really, and he turned back to crime. Because as the Lorax says, a tree falls the way it leans.
Wow.
He went back to prison, but he took a hairdressing course, Matty.
No way!
And tried to start another new life, saying he could cut women, men. I am a champion. I have golden hands.
No, that's a line from Adam Sandler.
No, that's real.
What?
Just ask Jeff Maish.
Unbelievable.
But he returned to crime again, saying, one goes to work in the office, I go to rob.
What's Rob doing? Anyway.
Rob sorts me out. But let's fast forward to the bit where he starts shooting rockets at crime bosses.
Yes, let's.
Because I know that's why you tuned in. He was convicted for orchestrating a failed hit on crime boss Asi Abutbul in 2005. And at a BMW dealership in 2009, he was attacked by the henchmen of Shalom Domrani, another crime boss. But Harari managed to get thrown back in prison for this, for making death threats towards Domrani during a police investigation.
Right, smart thing to do.
I think if you get beaten up, you're allowed to make death threats during the police investigation.
I think if you're gonna make death threats, yeah, that's not legal advice. If you make death threats, probably not during a police investigation. Generally.
I wouldn't recommend it. But by this time, Harari's son Itai, who was one of his 3 kids, who Harari had tried to steer away from the life of crime that he'd gone down, had become a Mizrahi singer.
No way.
Like father, like son. Fast forward to 2017, back to the start of the story. Harari's just got out of prison. He wasn't handling the stagnation of his music career very well. He started phoning radio DJs, begging them to play his music, which is a tactic.
That's who that was when I was on radio.
It's a tactic I will be adopting for this podcast. He got in touch with Margalit Zanani. That name comes up a lot. Margalit Zanani, who Jeff Maish calls the Madonna of Mizrahi music. So she's kind of like an elder stateswoman.
Right, yeah.
Harari says that she promised him airtime, but Zanani says that she just fobbed him off with a producer. So then Harari turned up at the studio.
Oh.
And then a few days later, Zanani's car exploded in the car park.
Oh no.
I feel like I'm telling a scary story. You
can't do that. You can't bark here.
Well, her producer got a text saying, if Margalit continues to come to the radio, we will make her and all the employees food for crows.
That's insane.
Yeah, well, you can't do much of the stuff in this story, Matty.
No, you can't.
It's frankly offside.
He's crossed a few lines there.
Speaking of offside, have you seen how well the Israeli team are doing in the qualifiers for the World Cup?
I've not.
They're second, I believe, in the qualifying group, behind I think Norway.
My feed is exclusively full of like, I don't know if you get this, but every time like a niche Israeli sports like the international team loses at a sport you didn't know they took part in against a team from a country you didn't know took part in that sport, it goes like mega viral. So like Ireland will beat them in basketball, or like Germany just beat them in baseball, and it'll appear on my feed. I'm like, I wonder why.
I believe I believe they're in third, but they're behind Italy, who I think stand not to qualify for the World Cup, the third World Cup in a row.
Yeah, Italy are just so hot and cold, man. It's unbelievable.
And Israel, of course, UEFA are talking about banning them from European competitions, but obviously it's the FIFA World Cup. Yes. And we know where Gianni Infantino's priorities lie. But back to Harari. One thing that Jeff Maish points out in his article is that Israeli mobsters have foggy memories. Who'd have thought? Even when they appear to be victims of a crime. So Sanani, who once hired gangsters to blackmail a music promoter, blamed
I don't think Madonna ever did that.
Well, I wouldn't be so sure. She blamed her car blowing up on engine problems.
Right.
So, kind of honour amongst thieves.
You're not doing your MOT?
No. When they interviewed Harari, he was very mysterious too. He told Israel's Channel 1, she forgot where she came from. So apparently someone in the field or industry decided that he needed to wake her up a bit. Ooh. Sending chills down my spine.
Yeah, I'm not going to hire you for a DJ event if you start talking like that down the mic. You know what I mean?
That's kind of... I could get down. As long as it's not in Spanish. We're mindful white boy speaks a little Hebrew tonight.
When's the Hebrew Mizrahi Super Bowl halftime show?
That probably next year, the way things are going, Matt.
That's part of the 20-stage plan.
But putting my paranoia aside, Harari started getting paranoid too. He was imagining that police were following him through the veg aisle at the supermarket.
Right.
And in fact, police wiretaps recorded Harari planning something involving, quote, strawberries, that they believe was a plot to bomb Israeli footballer Kobe Musa.
Whoa!
And this reminds me of when Syrian state-run TV claimed that Barcelona's tiki-taka patterns were sending secret messages contributing to the downfall of Bashar al-Assad.
Well, to be fair, but the thing is, those Barcelona teams were so good that actually, if that were true, Assad would have fallen far earlier than he did.
It could have happened.
It could have happened.
In 2017, police arrested Harari and an accomplice for attempted murder, conspiracy, weapons offences, extortion, and basically a whole bundle of all the things that he'd allegedly been doing.
Allegedly.
Allegedly blowing up cars and stuff. But Zanani, during the trial, told the courts that Harari had never threatened her, and also that his son was an outstanding singer.
I love it. This is his business done proper.
Yeah.
Blow up their car, talk about it later.
He had a bright future ahead of him. His son was an outstanding singer. But this was all to no avail. Our hero, Harari, was sentenced to 11 and a half years in prison. But from behind bars, Harari's still sending photos to his friends who are making them speak using AI to make TikTok videos telling his followers that crime doesn't pay.
That's such a convoluted thing. If it's like, are you right or are you wrong to do all that?
He's been scared straight.
Maybe he has. Maybe he found God again.
Well, he's definitely not giving up on Mizrahi, that's for sure. He's now 70 years old, but he's still set his sights on making that one big hit when he leaves prison.
What a fantastic story. And speaking of people striking gold, Chris, through the fire and the flames, that is. Our next story kind of is along similar lines of people doing things where you kind of have to ask yourself, well, why on earth would they do that?
Well, yes, the world's biggest YouTuber has faced backlash for trapping a man in a burning building. So MrBeast, or Jimmy Donaldson to his close friends, has defended his latest stunt video, Would You Risk Dying for 500 grand? In this economy, yes.
Perhaps.
In the video, he puts a stuntman through a series of challenges, including trying to grappling hook bags of money out of a burning building. A room full of lit fireworks.
Right,
so a burning building, but with extra spice. And being shot out of a cannon and landing in a ring of fire. If Johnny Cash had did that,
This someone introduced him to it's like a box of matches and went, hey, there you go, let loose.
MrBeast, his imagination knows no bounds. He once made a Willy Wonka's chocolate factory and had Gordon Ramsay doing the final challenge.
Yes, he's terrifying. That's
the stunt that's received the most online backlash, though, was tying up the stuntman in a burning room and seeing how much money he could get out of there. This has caused, condemnation. People shouting off online.
Yeah.
MrBeast's response was that professionals had tested it and pyrotechnics experts were on standby. But we shouldn't be surprised, really. This type of challenge video is typical of MrBeast.
Yeah. A room suddenly filling full of smoke because you make someone sit there, and the longer they sit there, they can get more money.
Exactly. I mean, interestingly, though, his video 5 months ago, would you risk drowning for 500,000, didn't receive the same backlash.
No.
I'm much more afraid of dying in water than fire.
Well, now he knows what's better clickbait.
I think I have an irrational belief that if I was in a burning building, smoke inhalation would not be a thing. I could just get out. Whereas I know I would be cooked if I was drowning.
I've just accepted that if it goes, it goes.
You're just gonna lie down, Rosebud.
You're gonna have a Citizen Kane-esque finale.
But my highlight from the video, another terrible American accent from me is incoming. MrBeast says, "But why are you trying so hard to land in the fire and add $500,000 to the prize pool?" And then the stuntman goes, "My dad's been going through some health stuff."
Oh,
bad. Yeah,
bad.
His dad had cancer and he was trying to raise money.
And he had to do that by getting shot out of a cannon. I mean,
It is the most fun way to raise 500 grand, and
Yeah.
also the quickest.
That's also a statement on kind of like the American healthcare system. To be
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. It's like Jimmy's just capitalizing on a business opportunity. There's a gap in the market.
Oh yeah, it would probably cost him that much to recover from any injuries you get from being shot out of a cannon.
Yeah, very
Which
true.
I don't think can be safe for the organs. Probably jiggles them.
No,
Jiggles
it's
them
not
up.
safe for anything.
MrBeast's videos are often criticised online for being like the hits South Korean TV show Squid Game. Except I suppose it's the opposite, because MrBeast often talks about how he makes like millions from videos, then puts millions back into them. So it's kind of a constantly escalating spiral of capital.
Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't separate from the very legitimate criticism that when he says to people, if you keep doing this, we'll give you more money, but you can leave at any time you want, but you just won't be able to pay for your dad's cancer surgery. That's so Squid Game, because you can leave whenever you feel like it, like in between the challenges. You can go home, but you won't get the money. And that's the thing that people get upset about with MrBeast, is it's like the longer, say, you keep your hand on the car or do whatever like thing or stay underwater, so the more you put yourself at risk of like health problems or danger, the more money you get, which feels like, well, that's fair enough, right? You're doing the furthest, you get the most.
Capitalism rewards.
Capitalism rewards those who dares wins. But it's like, no, that's just so
In
insane.
his defense, further, Matty, he also does philanthropic videos, including
He does.
2 million people get clean water for the first time. But I noticed that those videos all perform worse than the challenge ones.
It's like the burning building performed better than the drowning one.
Yeah,
that got more backlash, so there you go.
Or, it's sending Augustus Gloop down a tube in your make-believe chocolate factory. This probably is... I've totally fumbled my words there.
Yeah.
I'm sure Matty will grace me with a cut in the edit.
I won't.
If I'm kind to him. MrBeast, the craziest thing about him to me is that he doesn't seem to be enjoying any of this. So he's doing the whole hype man show.
Yeah.
But he's kind of dead behind the eyes.
Scotty Scheffler-esque.
I assume
Going back
so.
to our prior story, Scotty Scheffler
Yeah.
came out before, I think, the US Open, was like, this is not a fulfilling lifestyle.
MrBeast, though, is, I guess, the opposite in that. Would you say Scotty Scheffler has dead eyes?
Yeah.
Well, MrBeast has dead eyes too, but his problem is...
I love Scotty Scheffler.
His problem is that he seems too into it. So he, despite having 442 million subs, which would make his subscriber base the third biggest country in the world, USA has 340 million people, for comparison. MrBeast has said, "I spent basically 5 years of my life locked in a room studying virality on YouTube."
That sounds like you.
So, well, we'd get more views. Some days, me and some other nerds would spend 20 hours straight studying the most minor thing. Like, is there a correlation between better lighting at the start of the video and less viewer drop-off? Another quote, "This channel is my baby and I've given up my life for it. I'm so emotionally connected to it that it's sad, lol."
Yeah, it is.
Well, I mean, it is keeping the lights on at home.
It is, but
keeping
why-
the fires burning in the burning room.
He could also be making something that's like fulfilling.
He could, I guess. I'd throw the philanthropy back at you there, but there are some more serious charges to be levied against MrBeast.
Here we go.
So if you're wondering where those two quotes come from, it's an internal document leaked from MrBeast LLC, his production company, by fellow YouTuber Rosanna Pansino. Pansino leaked it because she said she received messages from contestants complaining about the conditions on MrBeast's Amazon Prime show, Beast Games.
Yeah, not Squid Games at all. Beast Games.
No,
Completely
Beast
different.
Games, yes.
Beast Games.
The squid.
It's not the same thing.
I know it's a beast of the deep, but...
A beast of the deep.
A veritable beast of the deep. 5 anonymous contestants in Beast Games brought legal claims against MrBeast, alleging that they were underfed that insufficient background checks allowed convicted criminals to participate,
Whoa.
and that there was sexual harassment. Claims MrBeast said were blown out of proportion.
Sweep it under the rug. Sweep it under the rug.
He ain't got one video where he needs to be doing all that. Here's a quote. Here's a quote about MrBeast games from one reviewer. The only thing that can get past human greed is mutual dependence, which is what capitalism creates. Wait. If that doesn't sound particularly relevant, that's because that quote comes from Ben Shapiro's review of the show. Yeah, sometime film reviewer. We all remember his Barbie movie. But there's a single line in the leaked document that I think is illuminating. Never do anything that could make us look bad from a PR perspective.
Oh, a good day to bury bad news. Now, speaking of bad news, Netflix have a bit of a sort of conundrum on their hands there, Chris, because unlike Amazon, who are pumping out Beast games, Netflix has put a lot of their eggs in this year's cycle into one big old brewery basket. That's right, Netflix's House of Guinness shot to #1 for TV series in Ireland and the UK separately just this past week.
Probably because Netflix has made it the entirety of the screen when you click on.
You can't get away from it. Yeah. Their new layout is atrocious. That's a personal opinion and the opinion of everybody, I believe. But it's just right in your face, right there. But it has landed awkwardly with one group who probably should have a big say on TV series about an important moment in the history of Ireland.
Protestants.
Irish critics,
for
whom it's landed very, very awkwardly indeed. And a lot of the criticisms do land at the feet of the show's creator. Now, few names in TV, and this is me, use my expert knowledge here and my degree, carry as much clout as Stephen Knight. Whether it's the blockbuster success of Peaky Blinders, the cult following of Taboo, or the seemingly constant flow of projects seemingly sold on his name alone, Knight enjoys what you would see as a rare position, which is a writer with constant work. And House of Guinness is yet another one of his historical dramas, returning to a gritty period style that you would see in Peaky Blinders and 1,000 Blows.
600 more blows than in the 400 blows.
Yes, famously. Francois Truffaut is often cited as a very noticeable influence on the works of Stephen Knight, and that's more lies I can tell you in this. Now, taking as much creative license with history as well in this show as he did for SAS Rogue Heroes, which I must say is a guilty pleasure of mine. I would say guilty because I like history, and the show is remarkably inaccurate at any
I always think you're talking
opportunity.
about SAS Who Dares Wins.
No.
Ant Middleton shouting the odds.
Ant Middleton chucking Matt Hancock out of a helicopter. No,
we're gonna do it anyway.
No, it's none of that. And it also, this show is a sort of extension of Stephen Knight's explorations of Irish nationalism in this town. It is what you would see is like an amalgamation of a lot of his big and successful projects, many of which many people enjoy and I myself enjoy. So I'm not just here to rag on Stephen Knight, who's had a long and prosperous career, and I'm just a little bit jealous. But while this is all being said, this stacking of winning formulas and plastering one of the most recognisable brands in the world on this project, in keeping with his habits, the episodes start with a very important message. This fiction is inspired by true stories, which again is a familiar warning for anyone who's watched shows like SAS Rogue Heroes, which starts with a similar one. Now, this show isn't a history lesson, but as the Irish Independent puts it, light-hearted romps through history are all very well, and are often great telly. But this is too flaccid to be fun. And the great wordsmiths of Irish newspapers just kept cooking from there. They really twisted the knife when they said the producers do point out that their series is fiction, but then the majority of our popular history in Ireland is fiction, and quite dangerous fiction at that. We don't need any more of it. The Irish Examiner were equally eloquent when they wrote, opulent and dramatic, beefed up with explosions and music by Fontaine's DC and Kneecap. No, seriously, Get Your Brits Out plays over a fight between the Fenian rebels and the funeral procession of the Guinness patriarch, which didn't happen. The Fenians were an underground movement by this point. They'd gone underground the year before.
Yeah, when is this set?
1868, I think. Yeah.
I was a Fontaines fan before it was cool, you know, back in 1868.
Well, Stephen Knight loves his anachronisms. Famously, Peaky Blinders starts off with Red Right Hand by Nick Cave.
I put that in a slightly different mental camp because that's the theme tune.
Yes, yeah. And there's a lot of
Shrek has Joan Jett and the Black Hearts.
So true. There's a
And
lot
of course,
there's a
Funky
lot of anachronistic songs in SAS Rogue Heroes, and he loves his music. That's why he made This Town, which is all about like ska and everything. But yeah, it does. I don't need any more slow motion sequences of people in sort of again anachronistic period costume walking along to some blaring soundtrack.
We've had Bridgerton. We've had Bridgerton.
We've had Bridgerton.
Yep.
Yeah, you did say this is Bridgerton for blokes, and you're absolutely correct.
It is.
Now, as the Examiner went on to say, all boxes are ticked, except the one marked entertainment.
Sounds great, or so far.
Yeah, well, they did say that the show at least had some badly lit bright spots. Yeah, it's yet another big budget show that's getting in trouble for its lighting. While we're at it, the Irish News wrote that much of it seems like a script written by Donald Trump, friend of the show, such as its lack of concern with reality, and that there's nothing of substance here, just a tick box drama seeking to surf the zeitgeist of neo-republicanism and splitting the G. Best to treat it like a bad pint in a kitsch pub in an unrecognisable Dublin and move on to pastors new. And this is really what I think is the integral point to be taken from talking about this show, is that it feels like its market isn't really for Ireland. Despite some of the Republic's and Northern Ireland's biggest stars being in the show, alongside James Norton and Louis Partridge, who are about as English as you can get. And it should be stated that Louis Partridge had one of the greatest pieces of journalism written about him in recent weeks, when the Irish Independent called him a strange pleasure. Strange pleasure? Strange pleasure. There we go. I don't want to butcher these great words. As they said, watching the exotically beautiful actor learn how to act as the series progresses.
Whoa, exotic. I mean, we are on an island.
Well, I mean, yeah, maybe. Just the exotic lands beyond the Irish Sea, England. Now, its target audience does probably sit across the Irish Sea, and even on the other side of the Atlantic. In NPR's much more positive review, they only really objected to the accents, but not for any inaccuracy. I mean, actually, Norton's accent has been really widely praised, but because they can be tough to parse, recommending the use of subtitles so you can, quote, translate their English into ours. But the story and the intrigue, those translate perfectly. Not necessarily a thought shared by the Irish Times, who say that the translation probably comes from the fact that the Fenians depicted in the show, and this isn't just me throwing around slurs against Catholics, this is about the nationalist movement of the late 19th century. They pointed out how they all seem to dress and speak like feral leprechauns in this show. There is a startling amount of green little hats and coats.
No way.
Yeah. It's the entire show kind of has a weird green hue at times. It feels like a period sort of horror thriller of the early 2000s, just sort of like From Hells. But yeah, it's all very Lucky Charms, Fighting Irish, B-movie horror kind of vibes with the show. Now, later in the review, they point to a sequence where Anne Guinness is shocked upon her visit to a County Mayo village.
Sorry, I know that it's about the House of Guinness. The fact they have an Irish character called Anne Guinness is very funny to me.
That's her name. She was a real person. Are you going to laugh at Arthur and Edward Guinness next?
Yes.
Come on. Yes. She's shocked to discover that a famine took place several years earlier and that everyone speaks Irish, which left the reviewer from the Irish Times, Ed Power, crying out for a nice, cold, creamy pint of Beamish. Yeah, it seems this what actually in the first episode does seem to start like an advert. What seems to start as some big budget, gig about Guinness does seem to backfire in that regard. Now, it is a shame that one of the UK's most prolific writers is getting brutalised in a battle of wits by his critics. But I did personally find the reviews far more entertaining than the show. But look, I must say, it's so camp. It might not be the point, but it's so camp.
I've got a way to make season 2 even more camp. You ready for my elevator pitch?
Yeah, give me your elevator pitch.
House of Guinness world records. So it's just got like the guy with the longest fingernails, you know.
Each episode they're going around to a different place and finding a new thing.
Yeah.
This time Anne Guinness isn't shocked to hear that people speak Irish outside of Dublin. Instead, she goes to County Cork and finds someone who hasn't cut his hair for 20 years.
Pomeranian runs 100 meters on his hind legs.
Again, I mean, the question has to be raised: is that like, would it not have been better off if Netflix and Guinness really just revised the world record show?
I think so,
and brought that back.
Yeah, no, that would be great.
Maybe this is the soft launch. Maybe this is what they're going to do. I like.
Well, I mean, if you at home have made it this far, then you've probably the world record holder for longest stay on a new sensation video. If you're watching on YouTube or Spotify, thank you for making it this far, and please do hit subscribe or follow or whatever the kids are calling it these days.
Yeah.
I'm technically not in the young person bracket according to Rachel Reeves.
Oh dear.
Because I'm 22.
Yes, and I know we've already surpassed the government's target of 2/3 people going into some type of higher learning.
Let's go.
We're on the other side of that, and we're happily messy. But he's Chris Patel.
And he's Matty Curry.
Thank you for tuning in.